Want to welcome everybody tonight to Voices of Service with Sue Peterson, and thank all of you for joining us tonight. As people continue to come in, they will be able to join us and move on. Um, Several reasons for tonight's program this way is because of the high number of individuals who have signed up, which I think is great, and I'm very happy to have that tonight as we talk about the program. The other thing is that from a technical standpoint, I want to make sure we don't run into any issues with us on my end with the program and the technology, so we'll keep it that way. We are recording tonight's program, so I will actually take the video tonight when we're done and send it to the student who works with me and have ask him to do the cleanup of it, as I like to say, the stuff. But he doesn't. So Michael and Hope, no, he doesn't get rid of all the ums and the ahs and all that stuff. So it just becomes we are who we are. But we're pleased to have you with us tonight. Um, while we won't be able to see you on screen, everyone can be engaged, and we encourage you to ask any questions in the question and answer feature at the bottom. And throughout the session, there's an opportunity for you to put those questions in. And then if we do have time, if we see later that we have some time, if there's a question that we need a little more clarification on, we do have the ability to open up the system and allow you to ask those questions directly to our individuals tonight. So we're happy to be joined by Kiwanis International President-elect Michael Mulhaul and Vice President Hobie Marks, who will provide updates on the Kiwanis Voices program. We know that there's a lot of discussion out there, and I know that there was a chat with uh, an alumni group last night, and we know there are other questions out there, but we want to make sure that we give both Michael and Hope the opportunity to discuss the program and share their thoughts on it, and then we will go ahead and take questions and answers after that. So I see that Marcia and David and Andrew have their hands up. I'm thinking that might just be a glitch. If you have, yep, there we go. See, I knew it. Perfect. All right, so I will turn it over to Michael and Hope. So it's all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Sue. It's great to be with everybody. Great to be with you, Hopi. And going to give you early rollout of Kiwanis Voices. So you may or may not heard about it. We just approved it at the April board meeting. So I wanted to give the full story and the background of how it all developed. Back in early November, we had a governor-elect / education in Indianapolis. And what I did is carved out a 15, 20-minute time schedule with each of the governor-elects because I really wanted to meet them and get to bond with them and really get to know them. So to me, the relationship is the most important. We're all working together for Kiwanis. We want to build that membership. We want to maintain membership, but we really want to have that relationship that we're all in this together. And I thought it was tremendously valuable. And what I did is each day we had about 15, 20 minutes and said, how did we end up across from each other? And on the third day was Governor-elect Philip from France Monaco came in. And he said, with his interpreter, he said, Michael, I believe if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, someone else will. And he articulated all the things that I firmly believe in and that just set it off in my mind. And I've only been able to reconfirm that in a very, very positive vein. And the goal was to have a 3-year structure right off the bat, where we would be identifying the 18 to 26-year-olds, which in high school, addressing them right in high school. And my theme is let's get together and stay together. So the goal is they're in high school together. Let's make that decision in high school that when they graduate, that they're going to stay together. They've built this wonderful bond. And no matter where they go, they stay local within their school, whether they go another part of the state, that they'll always really be doing all the tremendous valuable work that they're doing in Key Club. And then as they move up, it's a whole rising tide. The benefit is for Kiwanis Voices, CKI, and Kiwanis International. So one of the things that Philip mentioned is that we need a 3-year program whereby the governor and the governor-elect and the vice governor would all be in line to say, yes, we're going to support this program. So we really make a commitment and identify working with the 18 to 26-year-olds, which, globally, maybe we have 1% if we're lucky. So so that's a big concern. Excuse me. Sorry, just going to turn this off. Sorry, this call's coming. The and the goal would be to have over the next 3 years a real kind of structure, so we're working together. And just as a little bit of a backdrop, as you may or may not know, in Key Club we have almost a little over 230,000 young adults. That's our farm system, and in the past, unfortunately, it's not our blame, but we're trying the best we can, is after they leave and they graduate, we get about 2% in CKI. And there's different dynamics. You may not go to college, you may delay college, you may go to a 2-year school, there may not be a CKI, and there may be, and you may choose not to join. So there's a lot of different dynamics, but we do get 2%. And that's a dynamic cause for Kiwanis, dedicated for 75 years. Like the high school students, these are our best and our brightest. But each year, right now, in fact, about 70,000 graduate. So they're coming, and we only get about 1,500 on average right now that go into Circle K. So that means 68,500 just Key Club students are leaving us. The current goal right now is 20, 30, 40 years from now. We open clubs in recently Dallas and Florida, and the goal is to go one-on-one and get 15 members. Hope, I hope you know Kiwanis. Oh, I heard the name. Oh, Key Club, CKI, and a big smile comes across their face. And all of a sudden we say, well, maybe they'll join, But that's 1 Tuesday, 1, 2 at a time, which is still great. We have to continue to do that. That cannot change. But if we have 70,000 growing and graduating every year, we must try every effort to capture them right where they are. Right where they are. So about a month and a half ago, Michelle Studi Campbell gave us an update, which I thought was extremely important. Our K kids, on average, the club size has gone from 20 to 40. Our Builders clubs from 20 to 40. And K kids is what, 1st to 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th Builders club. So that is feeding into our Key Club. So I believe that in 5 years, we should have 500,000 in Key Club. That's not unusual. So that means every year, a quarter of them will be graduating. 125,000 of our best and our brightest. So we hope that many of them will go into CKI. But should there be none there? Should they not want to start a club? Should they not want to go to school right away, or whatever their decision is? So if we can identify that core right in high school, they're already bonding together. They may, in one sense, want to get away from each other because they've worked with each other for 4 years. But I believe the greater benefits that they will see is for them to get together and stay together. That they don't have to be together all the time, but as they graduate, no matter where they go, and this would be the club right in the school that they're in. So they would be signing up right then and there. And the goal would be for them to meet once or twice a month. They would decide, and hopefully have community service right in the community. They know how to do it. And should they move out of the area, they can do it by Zoom. There needs to be a virtual aspect of it so we can stay together. But the goal is to really get them together and stay together and focus on ages 18 to 26. And the reason I focus on that is because many times if you push it to 28 or 30, many times a 30-year-old is not overall interacting with an 18-year-old. So if we stretch it too much, it's not really good. It's no different in our Kiwanis clubs. Is the 20-year-old most likely going to join a 50 or 60-year-old club? They may, but on average, they don't. So if we move them together through life, so 18 to 26 would allow them to get together, stay together, and bond. And then gradually, once they're 27, they would start paying full dues. When I say start paying, what I've asked the board is for, instead of dues, is have a $40 dues, but it would come back to them in 2 years. So what would happen no matter when they join? Nothing would be prorated. If you join today, it's $40. And in 2 years, you and your club gets that $40 back. It would go into a savings account, come back to your club for a worthy project. So our hope is that they'll be developing great causes and worthy projects and investing in that. And then each year, the same thing, the $40 would come back until age 26. So the best thing I can equate this to is kind of like a few years ago in the United States for sure, where you can keep your son or daughter on your insurance until they're 26. So it's enormous savings for the young adults. And is it additional expense for the parent? Yes. Can the parent say, hey, we're saving you 2,000, we want $1,000 in? Of course. But we really want to make an investment, is really what I want, of $40. And by and large, hopefully all of it would come back to the young adult and the club. We have carved out $8, not a fortune, but $8, which we would encourage if the districts felt they needed some kind of cash flow to help support the cause in the meantime. And a little caveat, at any time, any district can choose to charge additional dues. I would discourage that, but you have every right if you want to. My concern is there, if you levy a higher dues, you're unlikely, in my opinion, to get them to stay. Because, you may feel you need it, may feel it's necessity, but we only ended up at 1%. So I believe we must make an investment. So I see this as a complement with CKI. I see as we go forward, everybody has to have a choice. They may choose not to join CKI, and this is the first time I've ever been aware of an alternative. So there's been some talk about what about young professionals or Kiwanis youth. There's a lot of benefits to them in years gone by, which we're going to continue to look at, and we've gotten a lot of dialogue from them. But as an example, I didn't perceive myself as a professional 18, 19, and 20. I just wouldn't have joined the professional club, period. Voices is everybody has a voice, everybody. And collectively, we're going to get together and stay together. So if we can have that opportunity to capture them right where they are, if all of us, let's say there's 100 here, if 30 or 40 of us are all in high school, 30 or 40 of us say, yeah, let's stay together as we go forward. We're really going to kind of need each other. We don't know to what extent, but we have that relationship and that bond. Why give it up? Why give it up? I compare it similarly to if you're the Mets or the Dodgers or Yankees, you have a farm league. You don't just let them all go and then trade in the secondary market to buy very expensive players, which is kind of what we're doing. We're spending a lot of money to get 1 and 2, 1 and 2 to get up to 15, where every effort, in my opinion, needs to be captured right where they are in high school, right where they are. We do it through lieutenant governors. We can go to the school and talk to them. And I believe all of these numbers are minimal because when I speak to many of the key clubs, they'll tell me, well, this club is 70. I said, well, how many friends do you have that are not key club members? Many of them say 30, 40. So I would say maybe it's 100 in that club that would want to stay together and get together as we go forward. So that's just a little bit of backdrop. I want to share it with Hope if Hope has any comments also.
Yeah, when Michael mentioned it in conversation, I think it was breakfast one morning. I couldn't stop listening. I heard younger members, relationships, non-collegiate, young professionals, which usually are after that age anyway. And I thought of provincial districts as well, because provincial districts are districts that have not been able to achieve the $1,000 membership, the 1,000 people membership. And I think that this could help them to grow as well. So I'm not just thinking of me or we're thinking of the organization, relationships. It's incumbent that you create relationships as Kiwanians. I have to say personally, we have a high school group right now, and we bonded from 12 to 18, and we're still friends. And I mean, some of us are grandmothers now, but we still keep in touch. The fact that you don't have to go to college, it doesn't force you to go to college. So that's also very good, because a lot of students do not go to college. Some of them cannot afford it. Some of them may just be going right into the business, of their family. And some of them just want to be tradespeople, and they too have a say. I mentioned the provincial districts because I think that's so important. I've already reached out to 2, and 1 is so excited. And my hope is that I can encourage those who even want to give it a try, because you have to take a chance in life, okay? You have to take risks. And for years we've been asking for young members. For years we've been trying to say, let's encourage these younger people into Kiwanis. Some clubs don't want it, fine. That's okay. We're not forcing them to take it. But I think this is just an excellent opportunity to invite younger members into Kiwanis and to keep them and to maintain the relationships.
Thank you. Hope I can mention a couple other things and then you can write the questions. You're like, one of the other things, the Taiwan district was very interesting. The approach they're taking too, when they spoke, they're looking to open up 34 clubs this year, but 17 of them are age groups 27 to 40. So they're also looking to focus on a group. And the goal is once you join that to stay in it for life, not to ever have to move from that club at all, should you choose not to. Because we often talk about how do we get the next 50 or 100 years. If you recruit a 20-year-old, they can stay with you until they're 70. And they'll be a major force within your town, in your district, in your state, worldwide. I just think there's enormous, enormous potential. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. So we do have some questions in the chat or for those of you that are just now joining us, all the questions need to go into the question and answer section. So that we have all the questions there, and we actually will, if there's any that will type the answer, I'll type it in there, but most of these will now be able to go live. So the first question is, so of the $40, none of that is going to international or district for expenses or membership. Explain the $40.
Thank you. So yeah, it's a $40 an investment by the whole organization. It is basically getting the $40. It would go into a separate account at Kiwanis International, basically just an interest-bearing account. It would not be an investment with the markets, and then return it in a year. And when I mentioned this to staff, no one ever said, hey, we're not going to get any money out of this. How are we going to pay the overhead and the bills? It's everybody was buying into it and knowing that it goes till 26. So this is a true investment whereby we are laying the money out to capture the best and the brightest, our Key Club and our CKI, young adults, into the future, and we're showing that we're investing in them.
So of this $40, that they invest, that Kiwanis International will invest in an account that allows them to still be covered by insurances and that type of, that aspect of that's another question is like, who's going to support the Kiwanis or who's going to support this club for insurance, membership support, etc.
Well, all the insurance is covered by Kiwanis International. It's all, there's no additional cost to it. What we would want is a sponsoring club to make a donation of $100 that would go to Kiwanis International to defray some of the cost. But that would be the initial, and these would be adult clubs. These are not SLP. These are 18 to 26, all adults, and count towards new club building, new membership. But it's truly an investment. Yes, could you say it's an expense on individuals in the district and the organization? Absolutely. Kiwanis International is not receiving, and each district can take $8 or try to work something else out. That's totally up to them. But there is no additional cost to that.
Okay, so the one of the questions, and I'm rolling through questions as they're coming in really quickly here. So one of the questions is, there's a sponsor. The club would be expected to have a sponsoring club, correct? We would be looking for a Kiwanis Club to sponsor this club, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the $100 fee, where did that come from?
Well, what we wanted to do is help to defray some cost for Kiwanis International. We want a limited staff. We wanted to just have a sign-up application, as limited overhead as we could. But there's still some processing, so it would be that way. And then engage the clubs to hopefully give a lot more than that, because they know when young people are starting out, they're going to need mentorship, they're going to need money. So we're hoping that they're engaged. So it's a very minimal amount of $100.
Okay, next question. An 18-year-old or 27-year-old for that matter can join Kiwanis and even start their own Kiwanis Club today. If a Voices Club is a Kiwanis Club, why segregate that age group when they can charter a new Kiwanis Club with their cohorts so they can all stay together?
If I'm understanding right, so if it's 27-year-olds, say that again, Sue?
Yeah, an 18-year-old or a 27-year-old can start a Kiwanis Club currently. They can start their own Kiwanis Club if they wanted to. If Voices is going to be a Kiwanis Club, why would we segregate that age group?
It really, we see that age group moves through society together. So will it be alternatives? This is a pilot, a 5-year pilot, which means it's a work in progress. In 5 years is when we go to membership to ask for it to be permanent. So all of these things can be adjusted, but it's the focus point of getting them in high school when they're together, when they're already together. Can other people do and start on? Absolutely. There could be a lot of what I call one-offs. But if we're together, we're going to really want to stay together. That's the whole bond in my thinking, and reward that. And then when they're 27, either move into
And
another club, stay, or pay full dues. So,
and I don't know if this makes sense, but think about it. The CKI member is almost the same age, so they could do the same.
yeah.
You know, charter club. And they are, you know, it's the same age, segregated. I wouldn't, well, the term segregate, yes, but I see Michael's point in keeping it together with high school, going into that age group. But I think
Michael,
if, you know,
ahead,
if
I'm
you're going
sorry.
to say, if you're going to ask a question on this, Jason, then I think you should, it applies to CKI as well. They could also do the same.
So this goes back to someone asked the question then, what is Kiwanis International's definition of the word pilot? What does that mean?
A pilot is, my understanding is you can do it on a limited basis for 5 years. There's the talk of, hey, maybe I should have rolled it out with only a few districts, a few areas, and see how it works. We can do that. All the studies I've heard from staff in Kiwanis International is they try it. There's no real effort. Most of them fail. And my opinion is, why would we let anybody go? If 70,000 are going graduate right now, should we really just carve off 2 or 5 districts for 5,000 and then judge our success on those 5,000? We got 70,000 coming through. Let's work with those 70. And we're developing it in Europe. There's different dynamics in Europe, and there's different in Asia Pacific. So all these things will be adjusted, but this is enormous flow. As I mentioned, the rising tide. This is where it's all coming from. So why pitch and tell yourself? I can see after 5 years, you say, well, let's do it. But why bypass that? You know, we can refine this as we're going along. This is where the research is. This is it. Not even bringing out perfect. 90% on the call may not even have heard about it yet. I'm trying to learn as best I can. As you can see over Hope's right shoulder, the Kiwanis Voices. We just got it approved last week. So we're working on that constantly. I mean, staff has been enormously supportive from the very get-go. But it takes time to refine it. The pilot is basically the board has the authority to do what they like to do. And I firmly agreed it needed to be a worldwide approach.
Okay. What does Kiwanis plan to change in order to keep the younger voices members interested? District conventions start on weekdays, outdated projects and causes. There are some reasons, these are some of the reasons younger members do not resonate with Kiwanis that will not be magically fixed with voices.
That's a real good question, Sue. And I can only sum it up in a couple of things. The young adults are going to be the answer. We're not going to tell them anything to do. They already a $250,000 in high school and 5,800 in college and 75 years in CCAF and 100 years in Key Club. They know how to do it. They know as they move what they want to do, how they're going to be influential, how they can work with each other and grow the community, give back to society. All those answers, in my opinion, they will come up with, not us dictating to them. We're just going to give them wrap them around the Kiwanis umbrella. 110 years of a pristine name worldwide is just unbelievable. That, as everyone says, is the best kept secret. But the youngsters will know what to do, and they'll know how to move through that, and then move to higher age groups. They'll stay together. There's no reason for them to leave, but they have to, when they're 27, start paying full dues.
So we know that a Kiwanis club would sponsor this club. Who would train them? And isn't this almost the same as a young professional club? It's the same concept, just a different name.
And I didn't mean to step on Hope if you wanted to mention something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did want to mention that we have young professional clubs. We have about 13 of them in Jamaica. And there's nobody, if there's anybody under 27, it's rare. Because they actually graduate somewhere between 25 and 26. And then that's when they start joining the clubs, the young professionals. So I would not liken it to a young professionals club.
Yeah, and if I may, Sue, because I didn't answer completely with the other, let's go back to the other. My son Zachary is 31 now, and Emily, they were both 2 years president of University of Scranton and CKI, one of the largest clubs, well over 100. And they actually gave them the auditorium to have their meetings, which is wonderful. But they felt all of their service should be right there in the community. They had very little interest in going to Indianapolis or around the world. They wanted to work. They had a great Kiwanis club that supported them. The university supported them to some extent, but all of their service was local. So, they may not want to go to convention. They may want to do something on their own. I don't know if they're 20 and say, well, I'm going to go to midwinter or to convention. They may not. They may come up with some other alternative and just engage what they're doing collectively, because I think they'll be such an amazing force in the future. They'll be deciding whether they're doing conventions and how they're doing it, because my three kids travel all over the world. And I see this, people are traveling much more. So they're bonding in Europe and in Asia much more than ever I've seen before. And these relationships will last a lifetime.
Okay, let's see here. So there's some questions about the budget. I'm gonna try to pull all these together, not ask them all at one same time, but try to keep the finances end of it at that point. Will this be an interest-bearing account?
Yes.
Okay.
Get some money market, put like a guaranteed money market is what I envision, which is right now about 4%.
Okay. I suppose that's where a portion of our dues increase is going. Remember, Kiwanis International needed more money, but the cost of insurance, among other things, went up. That's just a statement that someone made.
Yeah. Oh, no question. It's an investment. It is not a gain for Kiwanis International yet, but it's our future. Like I mentioned with the insurance, most families did put their children on their insurance until they're 26 because of a big advantage. They're not looking to carry them forever. They believe that the future is enormous, and that's what I believe. So I believe it's an investment that we must take, because we have so many young adults and then they leave us. So we have to spend that money to keep them.
So all the Kiwanis members will be picking up the cost of these clubs. We just passed a dues increase last year, and you said that only made us flat. Where's this money coming from in our budget?
Well, it'll be part of the new club building too. It'll be part of the just money for growth overall. So we don't expect a whole lot. It's just really the only money that's going to be laid out by and large is trying to really incentivize it, because we're not looking to have salaries, layer of officers. I mean, layer of staff overseeing this. So that structure has to be relooked at, which has been a challenge, as you know, for CKI. So. That's been an unfair burden on them. They're growing and doing a great job, so they should be able to benefit without that burden too.
Do we have an expected cost of the program over 5 years?
Not at the moment. It'll be evolving. I would say you can do it quarter by quarter. If we can report every single quarter to the board what the expense is, because it depends also how much buy-in you get. If you have someone that says they're just not going to do it, your cost will be little to nothing, right? If you're just not going to do it. But if you're going to try it and work it, then hopefully it's an expense up front that we get the benefit as we go forward. So can I give you a dollar amount? No, we can run some scenarios to say, okay, if we get 10,000 this, we get 50,000. But I don't think that's up front. You need that. You need that over time, but not over 5 years. I mean, quarter by quarter, we can report back. Here's what our expenses. Here's what we laid out. Here's what the results have been. How many districts are buying into it? Which districts are really excelling at it? Because I'm sure it'll be, unfortunately, the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the results may come from 20% of the districts. So we don't know any of that yet. So can we project it just to give a number? Of course. And if that's needed, we'll look at that in the next quarter. But again, these are the 5 years of getting all that in line.
Okay.
Did you want to add anything, Hope? I'm sorry.
No, not to that. Fine.
Executive Director Paul has stated that Kiwanis is needing to eliminate new due structures and streamline operations. How does this program accomplish that goal? And I don't know if you can speak for Executive Director Paul in that statement. I know we can always reach out to him. He is on if he wants to address that. Paul, just let me know.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, since they're going to be Kiwanis clubs and not SLPs, I think the cost would be limited aside from just the $40. They have the $40 exposure, so how it's a streamline with everything else, we'd have to see how it develops. So
Okay.
it's a work in progress also.
So a statement, we are underwriting 100,000 people at $40 per member. Where are we getting the $4 million?
It would be out of out of our investments, our dues, out of our overhead. No different than any decisions made. That always support CKI or any other cause. So that would be an evolving thing that would, again, it's not an absolute. You see where the expenses are. And just to step back for a second, we're in the process of approving money for Asia Pacific. So my belief is you don't just give it to every district in Asia Pacific. You go where the growth is. You go, are the dues up to date? Are you growing? Give them some money, add some money as it goes, because we only have so much money to go around. So I'm very keenly aware of that. So, but I also know that this is the best that we have. So when they're 27 to 30, they'll be making a lot of money. They'll be giving to our foundations. I think the benefits, in my belief, will be cumbersome. Benefits will be many for many, many years to come.
I don't know if I'm allowed to answer a
You go
question
right ahead. You go
that
right
you
ahead.
haven't
I'm
asked, but somebody said you cannot be a Circle K and Kiwani. So if you join Voices, you have to give us Circle K. And if you're charging $40 plus a sponsorship, why not push Circle K or even make community Circle K clubs for areas with no colleges? Circle K is a patented collegiate-based organization. It has to go with a college or a university. So it cannot be Voices at all. It can't be even compared with Voices. So just to let you know, it's a patented organization, Circle K, for colleges and university students. So university students and college students cannot join Circle K.
But I would
Sorry, can join Circle K, but if you're not, then you
Right.
cannot. And that's by bylaw. So if that was to change, it would be a legal issue.
And I didn't mean to step on your words there, Hope. I would encourage every aspect. CKI should try everything they can too. This is not an
Oh,
either
yeah.
or. CKI needs to be unburdened with the finances because they're doing wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing the very best they can. So,
Yeah,
and we need to reduce their expenses but that's, we can't do it all. We're trying to do
No.
one thing at a time, and do it the best we can. But those things can be done. You can work in districts and try to encourage things, bring it to the board, bring it to trustees, start to work on it too. So it's not an all or none. I mean, it was a mention of the other day, the adults of the CKI, absolutely. There's no reason not to approach these things and get traction and do it. So.
Yeah,
So
and I am looking forward to the growth of Circle K.
Thanks, Hope. Someone had said to me, so if I live in a community where there is not a college or a Circle K, or a college and a Circle K, or a community college in that area, this is something that we could work to build in our community.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
It's an alternative. It's another choice. Yeah. And then just to break it down, we talked about numbers. So let's say we have 70,000. Let's say just round numbers, 1,500 do go to CKI. We hope that grows. 15, so that's 68.5. So let's say a third of them don't go to school at all. So that's 20,000, that we're not tapping at all. Another 20 go to college shortly thereafter, 2-year college, but there is no CKI. So that's 40,000 where we're not touching them at all. And then 20 go to, there is a CKI. So we hope we get them, or we hope that they'll start one if there isn't one. So you need to have greater odds of capturing all of them. They've already bought into Quant. A lot of different reasons they buy into it in Key Club and K Kids. I understand that. But just like adults buy into Kiwanis clubs for a variety of reasons too. So yeah, I'm just trying to also answer as many as I can too.
So what about their participation for votes at the House of Delegates or at their district convention? Do they have any of those rights as a club?
100%. They can go to midwinter, they can go to convention, they can vote, they can run for lieutenant governor. Absolutely. They are Kiwanis clubs. They are not SLPs, or engage as much of it as they want or as little as they want.
Let's see, I'm just trying to see if we can on here. Will these clubs have coaches provided by the respective district? And I think there's a lot of questions about the support for those clubs. And who's going to do that, right? Where's that going to come from?
Yeah,
The steps.
that's a
Oh,
big
sorry.
organizational thing. So we want the club to sponsor, obviously, but then we want all of our Kiwanis adult clubs need to be first and foremost mentors. They have to mentor our youth. And I'm not saying like go see your grandson or grandchild and tap them on the head, you're a good boy, good. No, help them a little financially, help them a little guidance, a little wisdom, a little bit of extra money, help them with a fundraiser. I think the coaching aspect will be much greater when you're working with an 18 to 26-year-old. They know that inherently they need it. And that club, the mentoring club, may not want to grow at all, but they must mentor and give back. That to me is an essential of our organization because our whole future is our youth, our whole future. So it's our mentors and our clubs now that got us here and we want them to continue to have it, but they got to support, in my opinion, our youth, going forward. So I believe the coaching, will come more and the young adults will let them know, hey, mom, dad, or whatever, we need that. And that's a little too much, that type of thing. So
This age group may not be able to attend the international convention because of the cost. Would this be something that remote voting would allow to be, uh, for
sure,
this group to give a voice?
sure, absolutely. Yeah. 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 Maybe they, can maybe the mentoring club or other clubs can help sponsor one or two of them to go to convention, kind of like what they do at CKI or Key Club to be able to go to their conventions. Well, I'm hoping that as we're further out of COVID, that the established older Kiwanis clubs will start to support financially everybody, and say, hey, yeah, we're not going, but maybe we can give them a couple of thousand to help one or two of them go to convention. Or like you said, if remote voting is, then that would answer it.
Hope, any questions on there that you're seeing that you want to address? I mean, we have a number of questions, so I just don't want to, curious, why hasn't been any data released to demonstrate that there's an actual demand in the market.
Well, it's what I see. I've been Kiwanian for 34 years. I was on the counselor for CKI and also in task force for 5 years, just observing it. Most of you just observe that we have 250,000 in Key Club, and we're not making every effort to keep them. That you don't need a whole lot of stats to say that's where the action is. You've got to do every effort to get them. And can I say, well, this was great 30 years ago, 20? To me, none of that matters because we're taking a fresh look. I'm in the investment business. How many companies made computers or iPhones, and Apple came along and made it enormous success? And what happened to the others? I don't know what happened. They don't even know what happened. But Apple filled that void. And I think the dynamic part of Kiwanis having captured in our youth, high school and college students, we got to make every single effort to have them engaged for the next 50 years, that this is their way of giving back to society and having that whole bond. I'd like to share one thing if I could before you go
Go
forward.
for it. Yep, go for it.
A lot of the benefits I see, Sue, and hope is going to evolve. There's a book out there, a woman, Bonnie Hammer. She was a top executive for Paramount many years. And it's a book called The 15 Lies That Women Are Told in Work. Work harder, work this, and you get ahead. But what she gave is a couple of concrete stories. And I've been reading other things and researching other things. But she said, we've always been told if you work hard and you get great grades, you're going to get a great job. And if you work hard and get decent grades, you're going to get a job. And now what's happening is many are graduating. And she talks about a gentleman who's top honors, sends out 200 applications, doesn't even get an interview. And now what are you doing? I did everything you told me to do. And so what did he do? There was a friend of his 2 hours away had a meet and greet session. He went to that and met people like yourself or Hope. So within 3 weeks had a job. I think they're going to realize that they need each other. You may want to get away from your high school friends initially, but you're going to keenly say, well, what the hell Hope is doing? What else is doing? Oh, she moved to Michigan. How's Michigan to live? There's going to be so much you're going to be wanting to treat. Could you get it on Facebook or something? You just Yes, you could. But if you have that relationship and you ask Sue, how is Michigan? How do you like working for the university? You're going to get valuable information, right? That's going to stay with you for life and you're going to trust it and it's going to help. That will be impactful worldwide. It'll bring us so much closer. And these are the best. They're going to be making lots of money. They're going to be giving back to society, so.
There's a question about coaches provided for by the respective districts. Yes, I mean there's going to be a normal Kiwanis club, so whatever we provide for normal Kiwanis clubs, we'll be providing for them. You also have to realize too that the staff is on board with us. It's not just a matter of they're going to be charging us any more money to do this. Okay, they're very much on board. They want to see it work. They realize it's a pilot and things, it could go sideways, it could go up, it could go down. But what if we never tried it?
Yeah. And I want to reference that a little bit too. Staff has been 100% from the get-go. The get-go. I mean, it was as things were filtering out, people say, oh, staff's not even working. I mean, they are dedicated to this. And they see it as a future too. They're not saying, well, we're not going to get paid or we're not, they don't look at it that way at all. In fact, a couple of people said, instead of doing it 2 years initially with the give back, they said, just do it right to 26. I said, well, I got to get the board to buy into it. We got to, it's a process, since November, I'm just working and working and working. So not everybody was aware. No, is you're just building and building it. But I'm gradually going to get. Even my governor-elects don't all have it yet. But that'll happen. It's just a matter of time. It's only since April. So it's as it builds in time. I think all of those answers will come to fruition.
And there's a couple questions on here about what will happen to Circle K, and because they're in the same age group, and I know those questions have been asked of me, and I said, and I'm speaking for myself, I said, well, not every community has a college, right? So, and as you said, not every individual that comes to a Kiwanis Club wants to join a club we like to say that's their grandparents. So this is another opportunity, and the question was like, will you be able to put a Voices Club on a college campus?
I don't envision that, but they'll be able to, I'm not looking to compete with CKI Force, but you have to have choice. Choice has to be there because when you go to college, how many choices can a student join? I think you said it's like 80 something, right? The
I know on our campus there's 450 clubs.
Okay, so yeah, so I mean, so you gotta say, no, we're only gonna have CKI and we're not gonna have, people have to have a choice. You may join your club over here, but you don't like the club over here. You have to have choice. And that little competition is good for CKI, it's good for Voice, it's good for Kiwanis. It just makes it a little better. What we need to do, which is critical, is we need to relieve the burden on CKI. They're always under the finances. That can't continue. We can't really saddle the 5,800 that are doing the very best they can. And all they're told is you got to raise the dues, you got to do this. So that has to be worked out too. So do I have all the answers in? Of course not. But if you do a little of this, a little of that, you get nothing done. This is a major movement that if we get many people going from K kids to Builders Club into high school, that's a real momentum. A lot of my governor-elects, without me even prompting them, said, a lot of the sophomores are now leaders in Key Club. So it's not just a junior, senior towards the last. So they're getting in and getting involved much sooner. So that's great. And that's what it's leadership, and, learning to do community service, to get into college, to learn how to get along with other people. So many skills that are just incredible. And that will benefit if we have 500,000. CKI is going to get their share. But hopefully by that time we've reduced the finances on them. You can't have that finance. Can't, period. Talk all year long about to do this.
Michael, there's a question about the distinguished districts. So it's 3. And can you address that? Because I'm sure we had changed that.
Yeah, I'm in the and like everything else, we could on the distinguished criteria. A lot of people are upset because I had 3 and 3 on either way of getting distinguished. I'm going to adjust that, but I'm not going to adjust it to 0. I still think you can at least open 1. Okay, I don't care what that's 15 members. You can open 1 because you maybe say, hey, that's great. Maybe we should do more. And I want the districts to make the decision. We've seen throughout the years 1 or 2 people make a decision on a club, a district, and that can't happen. It has to be a consensus. So if you bring it to the board and the board says, well, of course we should give the whole full $40 to the 18 to 20. So we have none of them. What are we going to take the $8 or in? But a district can make that decision anyway. But you do know what the results have been on that. So I would try to discourage that, but it does allow, those choices.
Let's see here. There's a lot of questions. I want to see if I can get something a question that we haven't really talked about, which there's a number of them here.
Oh, so let me find, I went off with that because I'm trying to answer.
Go ahead. Yep.
So on the distinguished, I still want one. Well, I'm going to ask the board to adjust that number, but it should be at least one. So we'll bring it down to smaller districts. 3 is difficult, so it'll be an either or, it'll be achievable. And as president, you are able to say you're still distinguished because you did so well here to adjust it. So, and I'll share that with my governor-elect. It won't be like, what happened? You didn't do one thing and you didn't,
there's a question, as a follow-up to the question about changing the Circle K bylaws to allow community clubs. It's not a Circle K bylaw. It's a Kiwanis International bylaw. And to be honest with you, all we have to do is take it back to the delegates and they'll say yes or no, but it's still a legal issue because it's been patented. So it's not that easy. It's not impossible, but it's just not that easy.
Let's see here.
I'm glad you can see the question. I hope I can which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, is this being presented correctly? Next week at the International Convention, will there be something that we will vote on or turn this down at the House of Delegates next week?
No, it's been approved by the board in April. We had a follow-up meeting for more clarification because there was a lot of people are upset that they weren't aware of it or whatever. And I'm going to try my very best to get that out as we can. There'll be 2 workshops in Indianapolis. It's 5 years global. And then in 5 years, then you vote to say, hey, we make it permanent or we don't. So this is the research and the trial time. This is it, and so I'm open to good dialogue, not, hey, you should do this. You should, help me help you, be part of the solution. We want to win together. Can't win and then you lose and I win, you lose. It can't be a win-lose situation. We got to work through that. We're all passionate about this organization. So help be part of the solution. And we can modify as we go forward. And if I make a mistake or something, or we say something, we can correct it immediately, so, but it has to be commitment. The organization can't just try it. You try it and you get no results. You wouldn't get hired and have a job and say, well, would you try this? And then you never have any results. Oh, but I tried it. I mean, you just won't be able to work there. So you need to have results. You have to say, let me see, how do we get, these young adults here? How do we improve our finances with CKI so it's not as burdensome? How do we get them working together? Capture them more and more. Again, the rising tide benefits everybody. It's the best story in the world. It's not like we don't have any Key Club in CK. We have it. It's there.
And I will tell you that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Hope.
There's an anonymous attendee. I'm reluctant to answer any anonymous anything because I think you should just say who you are. But there is language that a college student cannot join Voices. There is that language in the fact sheet. So,
and that's an SLP. This is an adult club.
Yeah.
So there's a couple comments. I know that if we don't change something, we won't have a legacy, but I'm not sure that this is the right way to do it. I'm willing to take a risk. Can you help put their mind at ease?
Yeah, I just, ever since Philip mentioned it to me in November, everything is only confirmed in a greater sense. And I've been challenged at every turn. And I've only felt more and more because all of those are temporary obstacles. We can work through all of these things. We have the best and the brightest young adults coming. That is our future. 100% our effort has to be there. And then maintain all of our clubs to get tremendous gratification helping our youth and giving a legacy. You see how many clubs close after 40, 50, 60, 100 years. They'll have a 100-year anniversary and then close. That's terrible. They want to see the next 50 to 100 years. And the only way you can do that is not just recruiting 50, 60, 70-year-olds, recruiting the 20-year-olds. You give them a reason to stay. And we don't have to dictate anything to them. they're going to cultivate just like they do in high school or college. They got the answers. We just got to encourage them.
There's a question about getting feedback from graduating Key Club and Circle K members or recent alumni to submit anonymous feedback about their experiences. I know there are a number, I can tell you that I know a number of districts do that. And I think, with it, and I can't speak to the numbers here, with only 2% of the Kiwanis members under the age of 30, understanding why young members leave seems critical. If a survey or access process does not exist, when will it be implemented? Now, I will tell you that in our club, we do exit interviews with our members, and we ask them why they're leaving for whatever reason they're leaving. Now, we might be the odd duck out there, right? But finding out why those people are leaving and also finding out why Circle Kers or Key Clubbers don't move on to Kiwanis seems to me to be a pretty, I guess I feel like I can speak for me. We do ask those questions,
Yeah.
but also remember that it's all of our responsibility, and everybody can shoot the messenger there, but it's all of our responsibility to do that and
Sure.
to make those connections.
Yeah. I mean, to me, is it valuable? Yeah. Does it rise to the top of things we must do? In my opinion, no. How often do you hear someone online say, "Oh, well, we used to be 300,000. We used to be," who cares what we were? Doesn't matter. It's the 160,000 we have now. That's what you care about. Doesn't matter if we had a million or it's nice to talk about that. Or you want to go back and ask them why I don't know. Does it really matter? Are they coming back? Maybe, but I don't think that's a real good use of the time. A survey one of our past president Doreen did in our club, and she only got a few responses, which many times you do. But she said, we never have any time to interact with each other. Our Greater Pacific Club was so active that, oh, so you had a project, Hope had a project, Mike, and then the hour went by, we never even got to say hello to each other. If you said something, it's like, hush, hush, we got a speaker. And she said, no, we're going to speak for 10 minutes, have breakfast together, and then have additional things. To me, that was tremendous value of when we're together, rather than someone just walk out and say, you just told me to keep quiet while I'm having my breakfast and I'm donating money. You're going to ask him why he left. He's going to probably tell you off. So I'd rather engage them right then and there and say, how do we keep you now before you're walking out the door? So yeah, could you spend some time in that? I don't know.
And I think there's some, thoughts about can college students join? Can they not join Voices? They could join Voices. There are some college campuses that do not allow clubs. And
Yeah.
in today's higher education world, with the way budgets and all that kind of stuff is going on, I expect that we'll see, changes to things that are happening and how, Kiwanis clubs are functioning or how Circle K clubs are functioning. But
That's a big challenge, though, Sue.
it's a big challenge, right? Right.
Seton Hall in New Jersey will not allow anyone to pay dues. So our club took over the dues, but then next year comes and the next year comes.
Right.
And then are they really engaged because they're not paying anything? Went to Fairleigh Dickinson, they approached them and said, no, we don't allow anyone to pay dues. So that's another uphill battle on CKY. It has nothing to do with those students, so you got to be able to engage them elsewhere. Can I say that's everywhere? No, I don't, there's going to be, challenges certain states and areas and maybe others are easier.
After reading, I'm going way ahead.
Go right ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Paul England. And if you're in Pittsburgh, I'd like to meet you.
Who are you saying thank you to?
Paul in England.
Oh, okay.
I don't know him. I mean,
Yep.
we may have met, but I'm just telling you,
No,
I appreciate your comments because I think it's important to be objective. And also, I think it's so important to take chances and to take risks. And,
absolutely.
we have done this before. KI has done this before. A lot of things have happened that I don't hear anybody screaming at that they probably should have screamed at, but somehow this is, I don't know. Anyway, I think Kiwani's voice is an extremely good idea to try and get younger members over time.
And so if I can give a personal thing, I'm
Go for it.
a financial advisor for 42 years. Most of my clients are 50 to 90. They have big money, millions. But many of them have early 20-year-olds, and they'll ask me, would you work with them? And I say, absolutely. It takes a lot of time. I make little to no money, but it's the right thing to do. Now, I could say it's selfish too, because when they die, Hopefully they'll inherit and they'll stay with me. Maybe they won't. There's a big movement with youth is looking differently. But to me, if I said, no, Sue, I'm not going to take care of your relative. Well, I make $300 an hour, whatever it is, for what? Why would you do that? I'd say yes. And you got to get back because that is the future. That young adult's going to be making financial decisions into the future with lots of money. And then where's that going to go? Hopefully it comes to Kiwanis. It's that way of, oh, we got a great foundation. We got a good global project. We got great support. Oh, this is going on in Europe and this is going on in Asia Pacific. All of a sudden we're so closer. And then not ones and twos, we're doing it in hundreds. You do, your school goes to visit another state. They do it in groups, not ones and twos,
Right,
large
right,
groups getting
right.
together.
So why the name Voices? That's one of the questions that
I wanted it to be unifying. And as I mentioned, nothing wrong with young professionals. I didn't perceive myself as a young professional. I would have never joined. I lots of comments with Ilio in Europe and lots of things we're trying to get also from Europe because the Kiwanis Youth was a good program. We don't even know why it stopped. We'll try to look at, but that's almost 20 years now. But he's able to give us, hey, he became a leader and everything. Voices that everybody has a voice. It's not a hierarchy. It's not you're the president, you're this, you're this. No, voices, everybody has a voice. And it really just unifies. So when I heard it, to me, there was no looking back.
Armando had sent us a note. We sent 500 surveys, and I'm not sure. I apologize. I don't know where he's from. To CKI, they sent 500 surveys to CKI alumni, and 232 responded. The majority weren't in Kiwanis. Finances were not the leading factors as to why they didn't join. The overall culture and the politics within the organization are leading factors. How do we plan on improving Kiwanis' image to a younger generation? Um,
All right, I didn't get all the first data, but you have to approach them right where they are and just allow them to, they have the solutions. We think we're so smart, we're going to tell them, you salute the flag and you do this and you sing. No, they just get them together and they'll come up with solutions and they'll just say, hey, this is great, part of this wonderful organization. And they'll run it by you. So I'm thinking of doing this. We're thinking of doing that. Is that traditional? Is this not? Should we do it? They will be the answer. They will be. Just got to get them together. That's all you got to do. They have all the answers.
And there's a lot, I will, for those of everybody on the call, there was a question about, having, just a few of us on the screen versus, like 150, would have been a lot of people. Not that, and I think that's great. Don't get me wrong. Part of that was just so we could have the attention on where the information was coming from, right? So that people knew where it was from. There's a lot of information in here on the chat. We're over 100. Oh no, we're not over 100. We're like 80. I guess we are 86 questions and answers. So, as we continue to move forward, I will take all this information and give this information because there's some great ideas in here and some great thoughts. And I will get this information to Michael and to Hope, and to the Kiwanis International office and the staff, so that we share that information. Michael, as you said, and I realize not everyone will be at the International Convention next year, but there are 2 sessions next week. Um,
Thursday and Friday, 1 o'clock.
Thursday, Friday at 1 o'clock, that we will also continue this discussion. But I also think that, we know that there's a lot of, and I'm saying we, the proverbial we, right? We know there's a lot of skepticism on this, but we also know there's a value in that skepticism because Kiwanians the people that are maybe seen as being resistant or whatever, we care deeply about Kiwanis, right? That's what we're doing, and their thoughts can only offer valuable insight to what we're doing and help us come up with better ideas, right? And I think that's what's important for all of us to know. And, I've done my own thinking and thought, that kind of stuff. And I've talked to people about it, but it's like, you're right. Sometimes we have to take a risk. We all know that there have been pilot programs for years in Kiwanis International. Some of our programs were pilots. They might started out in 1 or 2 years and then they moved on or they didn't go anywhere. But I think that the important part for us is to understand that we need to connect with this program and connect with the purpose behind the new initiative.
Absolutely. And I have no problem with people being a critic because hopefully you buy into it and you become part of the solution. And then you're an advocate. Then you're really
Right.
saying, hey, let's get through this. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't.
Yep.
And that's the pilot program. I don't have all the answers. I probably have very few that you really want because you may harp on certain things, but it's clear that the rising tide will lift all boats. And we have a great story. We are not hustling anybody in Kiwanis International. It is a pristine name, and to be able to wrap yourself around what a great organization we are. That is a tremendous movement, and to really help guarantee the future of this. I mean, there is no limits, none, zero. And if we're part of the solution, we'll get it all worked out, you
Right.
know?
So something of course, I was doing some research today. A quote, innovation is taking two things that already exist and putting them together in a new way,
Yeah,
right? It's not about choosing tradition or innovation. It's about building a future that respects our legacy, but also helps us expand our impact. I mean, I
yeah,
think deep down, we all know that we want to do more work for the future of our children.
absolutely.
And people can say, well, you're the moderator of this, you shouldn't be adding your input. Well, that's the way it goes. But I think that, there's a lot of stuff out there that we can look at and worry, and we can worry about it or we can get on and help move it forward, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's not onerous anybody. I'm not asking anyone to take it all on their
Right.
shoulder. Give a little bit, but be patient. It takes a little time. When you ask staff, this is like moving at the speed of light. When I asked someone, how come they didn't hear about it? I was like, okay, I'm trying to do the best I can. As I was lining things up, because anything you do, you need conviction. I didn't want to tell 1,000 people and say, oh boy, I was wrong about this. And then I got everybody engaged. So I keep it small and build it out, build it out. So hopefully we can, have less downside and more upside. So
So, Hope, any final comments?
Yeah, just to say that it's, you know, we welcomed all the questions. Unfortunately, we couldn't answer all of them, but I like your idea, Sue. If we don't do it, we'll never know, and I think we need that mindset, and I'm encouraging you to try to get that mindset. Just think positive, and if it works, it works, but you have to think positive. Everything starts with a dream. So
Michael?
yeah, just I ask everybody, please consider stepping forward to help locally, individually. Doesn't matter if you help one person or help make a better decision. I'm going to be identifying people for 3-year terms, so we have a commitment. But that's all their job would be. Is not you got to build everything, and I think it's a win-win for CKI, and which will work it out. And Kiwanis Voices, to me, it's a great future for Kiwanis overall. And I'm just thankful that you gave me the opportunity to.
Thank you to both Michael and Hope for being with us tonight. We will get this recording up and on the YouTube channel. We'll get that out there. The other ones, I will tell you that the trustee candidates and the Bear and Sarah Brantley video that we did several weeks ago with the Action Club is out there. I know that will make our friends out in the Pacific Northwest happy. And there are a couple other ones that are out there, and we're working on that. And I think that for me, as I really think about this, because I could get on either side of it, right? One side or the other. We can all play that devil's advocate. We need to move forward by not choosing sides, but by inviting all voices to the table, right? And that's what I believe you are trying to do, is inviting all voices. And the goal is, it's about sustainability and unity and the mission of our organization. And that's how I see it. Now, initial thought was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But I think as we take time and we work with this, I mean, I'm in a position where I get that kind of stuff given to me all the time. And you're like, what are we doing? Right? Well, but if we don't try something and think about it, we never know where we're going to go. I'm a Circle K graduate. I advise the Circle K Club. I feel very strongly about that organization and supporting that organization and keeping it going. And I don't personally see this as a replacement. I see this as as a supplement or
Compliment.
a compliment to what we're doing. So that's of course, my opinion. So thank you all for being with us tonight. We will not be on next week, as we'll be at the International Convention in Pittsburgh, and then the following week I will actually be with Key Club at the Kiwanis International or the Key Club International Convention in Orlando. So we'll be back mid-July. We have a full series of programs being set up as far as membership with the membership and engagement team. We'll be bringing in our risk management staff. And we also have a couple other surprise speakers that I've reached out to, some other authors that are going to come on and talk to us and keep the program going. So thank you all for being with us tonight. I hope you get some information. I hope that we didn't get too many blood pressures up high. Um, Everybody just needs to deep breathe for a little bit, and we'll go from there. And I will see many of you next week
Great.
in Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing.